Good morning, everybody, and a happy Monday morning to you. I hope you had a fabulous weekend. We have another long video. We have a lot of royal family stuff going on in here. Prince William, Duke of Gloucester. There's a lot. Let's just jump in and get busy, shall we? Let's go. I want to start off by saying a big thank you to Lori, who sent me this off my Amazon wish list. It came at my birthday. I'm assuming it was a birthday gift. So thank you so much. All right, let's jump in and get started. We're going to start off with Prince William. An article came out, and this woman, Hannah, talked about the documentary on Channel 4, The King, the Prince, and the Secret Millions. And she spoke to some of the tenants on the Duchy of Cornwall. And apparently, people there are saying it's absolutely untrue. They're saying the suggestion that William doesn't care about the tenants is really frustrating, and it couldn't be further from the truth. And that it's one of the best things that could have happened to them. Would we still be dairy farming if we hadn't been bought by the duchy? Probably not. Now, this woman, Hannah, spoke to William himself, the Duke of Cornwall, and he wanted to be quoted in his own words. And this is what he said, quote, "We're not the traditional landowner. We want to be more than that. The duchy has been a positive force for good, but we can do so much more. I think the key thing is it's about not losing the important community and historical links of the duchy, but it's also about making sure we're building on and enhancing, modernizing it. We're going to modernize it without losing its key spirit of community." Now, at the same time, William does recognize that he needs time to make his vision come to life. He's barely been in the role for 3 years, and he said it's going to take a little bit of time, but he's determined to shift the focus away from the revenue raising to the social impact. That's the important distinction, he said. Now, this is important to understand because the focus under William is not going to be just making money, but rather on how to better life for the tenants of the duchy. Apparently, he's gotten into a habit of quizzing residents about what would improve their lives. And as a result, a new health and social care facility that includes a modern maternity suite is going to be there. There will also be a designated key worker housing to encourage teachers and doctors to stay, and a strategy to make tourism more sustainable. Very interesting. They said that William, without the usual press pack following him, was freer to speak, and he was laughing easily, standing with his hands in his pocket, and he was very thrilled when he got the chance to tease one of his team. Apparently, the people that work for the Duchy of Cornwall also said that they love working for him, that the staff no longer feels they need to put on a tie when he's in town. Now, for those of you who don't know, that documentary that I mentioned at the beginning apparently alleges that Charles and William and all of them have been making millions from charities and public services, which is absolutely not true. Mr. Bax, who is the keeper of the records, points out that the financial status of the duchy is enshrined in an act of parliament, and it is obliged to let property at a full and fair annual rent. There are legal safeguards, including that the Duke is not about to sell off the capital assets. Everything is completely transparent and clear. And for some reason, you still have these things coming out where they're trying to take William down. I just don't understand. And in the meantime, for those of you who don't remember, it's the Duchy of Cornwall. It's the revenue from the Duchy of Cornwall that Meghan suggested be split between the brothers so that they both get all this money. And she was told no. Now, this article also says the people who call him work shy, what they don't understand is that William does not work for the cameras or to complete engagements. He works for the people. So on top of his royal duties, he runs the duchy, he runs the Earthshot Prize, he runs Tusk, he runs UWF and Homewards. He has over 30 charities that he personally volunteers in. He has his wife, he has his children, whom of course he prioritizes, and he also has to be present for. And of course he has to make time to see his friends and go to football games with them. He's very busy, but he's winning in life, obviously not like his brother. Still sticking with Prince William, the latest episode from his new wildlife documentary series, Guardians, has come out. And in it, he's talking about wildlife rangers protecting snow leopards that are coming into conflict with humans in the Indian Himalayas. And he says, and I'm quoting, "Snow leopards are such beautiful creatures known as the ghosts of the Himalayas. And just having sight of one is so rare, it feels incredibly special." Now, he, of course, cited Sir David Attenborough as his inspiration for the 6-part series, and he hopes this will help nature's wardens be valued, respected, seen, and promote the wonderful regions that they protect. Love it. Moving on. All right, next up, the royal family is showing some gifts that were given to the king to mark his coronation in 2023, pointing out that they reflect ties to specific countries or organizations or personal interests of the king. The people of Australia gave a national contribution towards the conservation of the western ground parrot, which is support for an endangered species that reflects the king's long-standing interest in nature and conservation. Next up, you have 2 gold Blue Peter badges. One was for the king and one was for the queen. You can read for yourself what they were for. Next up, a native Irish oak tree was planted in the king's honor in the woodland forest of Aurora, and this was given from the President of Ireland. Next up, the king got a feather crown, a tobacco bowl, and an inhaler from Amazonian indigenous leaders. And finally, because the king is head of the armed forces and holds honorary ranks, they gave him a statuette of a mounted guardsman from the king's company, Grenadier Guards. What interesting gifts. All right, let's move on now to the Duke of Gloucester, who unveiled a plaque to the engineer Thomas Brassey during his visit to the Chester railway station in Cheshire on May 28th. I hope he keeps going for a long time. I love him. All right, next up, Princess Eugenie on Instagram put up some gorgeous pictures to mark the 2nd birthday of Ernest. They named him Ernie, is his nickname, I should say. He is the 2nd son with Jack Brooksbank, and of course he has an older brother, August. He was born May 30th of 2023. He looks absolutely adorable. And I find it interesting that she has no taxpayer-funded security, even though people are really upset with her dad. And yet she's out and about living her life with her kids, and she's not whining and moaning and complaining. Just saying. All right, next up, I had to touch on this article which came out saying that in the past, Harry referred to Catherine, his sister-in-law, as the big sister he never had. The two of them were very close. The article says that there was no filling in the hole left by Princess Diana's death, and Harry seemed to grow up without someone emotionally available he could lean on, after, Diana's passing, and that Catherine filled that gap a long time ago. Although now we know that his relationship with her is strained because of all the horrible things he said about her. Harry even said in his book how he enjoyed making Catherine laugh, and he connected with her heavily disguised silly side, and how at the wedding, he was so happy that Catherine would forever be by William's side and she was a good match for William. And of course, that was before he basically said that the only reason William married her was because she was good breeding stock. And of course, we know that he blames William and her for the Nazi uniform that he wore when he was in his 20s. Okay. All right, let's move into some of the bigger stuff. This whole thing about who gave birth to the kids has come back around again. And I found this article from 2022. Don't forget that the obstetrician who supposedly delivered Lilibet, shut her practice with very little notice, telling patients she needed to focus on her own health and be with her family. She made the announcement on Instagram. She said, it's been the honor of my life to work with women of Santa Barbara. And then all of a sudden she announced a leave of absence starting on June 30th. She said any patient procedures or surgeries planned before that would go ahead, but pregnant women needed to transfer to a different practice. This woman is married to a fertility doctor. She has 4 stepkids, and allegedly it's suggesting that she delivered baby Lily, but there's some question about what's really going on here. So something seems very strange that a popular doctor with a thriving practice would just suddenly retire. The question is, was she paid off? Was she threatened? Either you shut up or I'm going to destroy your livelihood. And nobody has been able to find a record in any hospital of this kid's birth. So something is definitely off. Now, at the same time all this weird stuff is happening, we come to find out that Meghan used a trusted London-based pregnancy guru by the name of Dr. Gowri Motha, who is a childbirth pioneer, apparently, and she offered remote support via telephone to Meghan during, apparently, Lily's birth. It's the weirdest thing I've ever heard of. This woman claims to use something called a gentle birth method, which prepares mothers physically, emotionally, and mentally with a series of consultations and classes. Yeah, I'm sure. So apparently she helped Meghan, who, remember, she had a geriatric pregnancy, and then she claimed she put 65 pounds on all in her baby. She also apparently was overdue. And then she went to the hospital where, let's not forget, Harry was getting high on the gas, while Meghan, who had an epidural, supposedly got in a bath, and the baby's cord was wrapped around the neck, and she left the hospital 2 hours later. I bet she did need a guru for this birth. Moving on. Now, other people have claimed that the baby that was shown off at Windsor Castle was not a real baby. And I never thought that they would do that. But, we've discussed this before. This particular baby they showed off didn't blink, didn't breathe, didn't move, didn't twitch. Nothing. They said, Harry, we can barely see him. Could you turn him so we could see him a little bit? So they turn him, and Harry, for some inexplicable reason, digs his thumb into the baby, as you just saw. Let me zoom in a little bit. Look at that thumb. He is digging. His thumb turned white. He's digging into this baby. Now, somewhere online, I saw this. They had these newborn dolls, and if you choose a certain option and you touch a certain part of the baby, it will move and it'll act like it's breathing, and they try to make it look like a real baby. Well, you gotta wonder. Now, another thing that's come up again is this whole paparazzi chasing Meghan. Poor Meghan, they ran her down. Okay. Here's what Harry said in the Netflix docuseries.
Boats in the water, cars up the drive, individuals trying to jump over the fence and take photographs over the wall. I'd never experienced that before. Em asked me, would they remove our security? I said, they'll never do that. Meghan's background, her heritage, the well-documented hate campaigns against us, suspicious packages being sent to the palaces, specifically with her name on or my name on. She said, do you think they'll ever do it? I said, no, they would never do that. And they did it. They've decided that our security will be removed on the 31st of March, thereby leaving me less than 3 weeks to find security for my family. And I'm worried. I am genuinely concerned for the safety of my family.
So the Sandringham Agreement meeting was held on January 13th of 2020. Harry was told at that time that he was going to lose his security. That's what he was told. I think they honestly didn't think that the palace and the queen would go through with it. That's what I think happened. And don't forget, Harry sat on Oprah's couch and said, oh, they pulled my security and I had to find coverage. He knew the security was going. He knew. All right, next up we have Nigel Farage. He was on a stage. He had something to say, and it was about Harry. Listen to this.
America has all the new ideas. They take a few years to cross the pond. And you send us many good things. And what you're doing in this space right now, through this administration, is good. You also send us bad things, because you sent us woke. But you know what? We've got you back, because we've sent you Prince Harry in return, all right?
Yeah.
We love you, Nigel. All right, let's move on. Next up, I already covered this. Now mainstream media is covering this. Remember I showed you that Meghan put up that picture of her beagle nose deep in the basket that had all this colorful fruit and vegetables. You had broccoli, carrots, corn, squash, red peppers, spring onions, herbs, and supposedly she basically insinuated that these were all plucked from her garden. Several people noticed that there wasn't a speck of dirt on any of the produce, which I already told you about. Several people noticed, as I already told you, that you're growing all these vegetables from all the seasons all at once. And if you zoom in on some of the vegetables, you can literally see where they were cut. Look on the right there. You can literally see where they were cut. Everything is supermarket shelf ready. There's not even a smudge on the carrots or any of the vegetables. They also, the peppers and stuff look like they've been rubbed in wax, if that makes sense. But what a lot of people want to know is, since she's already said she's not going to restock till next year, she's taking a step back. People want to know why she went out of her way to even post this ridiculous post showing her wearing almost $1,000 shoes while gardening. Once again, she's completely out of touch. All right, let's move on to Harry. We know that he flew to China, to Shanghai for the Travelist, and people are saying that he is such a hypocrite that he doesn't understand the hypocrisy in his own words at a greener travel summit. How can you fly to Shanghai and then get there and talk and give a speech about saving the planet, even though you flew 6,500 miles to get there? People are like, you know, Harry, before you set off on this journey in question, why didn't you see the headlines that were coming out? I mean, people are saying, listen, if you truly believe that air travel is destroying the planet, then stop doing it. And in no circumstances would you ever use a private jet, as a certain prominent semi-royals have occasionally been reported to do. I mean, you need to say to yourself, hang on, I don't need to fly 6,500 miles to give this speech. But we also know that he did it because otherwise he wouldn't have been paid. Now, the other thing that was brought up was that Harry did this and made the comments while King Charles was meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney to start his 2-day visit to Canada, which was seen as a show of support, amid the threats of Donald Trump. So while King Charles and Queen Camilla were going through the Canadian capital in a carriage, you had Harry over here making these ridiculous, comments. What's being said is that Harry's speech in China could not compare to Charles's speech in Canada. King Charles's speech was very supportive, and even though it was a quick trip, it had a major impact. And so Harry's attempt to grab the limelight just didn't work out. And finally, the Spectre put out an article that said that America was born of revolution, a republic forged in defiance of the monarchy. But yet, even with all that, we can't resist the allure of royalty as long as it's authentic and dutiful. And they're saying that Harry and Meghan have come to personify grievances, vanity, and betrayal. Polls have shown us that William and Catherine are more popular than Harry and Meghan. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that the only reason Meghan is famous is because of who she married. Exactly. Oh my goodness, I definitely want your comments on this one. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the links to my Twitter, Gettr, Rumble, email, my father's book, which is still up for sale, my second channel, which still has videos dropping on it, and of course my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.